Hey everyone, welcome to This Explainer. I am literally so excited to have you here with us today. We're diving into something that affects every single one of us, the absolute core of our determination, our vulnerabilities, and our resilience. We're going to frame today's source material around what we're calling the architecture of moral fortitude. Think about a skyscraper for a second. A building is really only as strong as its foundation, right? When a massive storm rolls in, that structure survives solely based on its design and its materials. Well, it turns out our moral strength, our fortitude, works the exact same way. It relies on an internal architecture. So in this explainer, we're going to break down a really fascinating text that explores why our internal moral structures sometimes feel like they're totally shaking, and much more importantly, how we can practically reinforce them. Let's get into it. So, right off the bat, let's tackle this massive question. Why exactly can the wrong course suddenly seem so incredibly appealing? It's kind of a startling reality, isn't it? I mean, if you think about it, temptation almost never sends a calendar invite. It doesn't give you a 2-week heads up. As our source material points out, we can be going about our day feeling absolutely rock solid in our values, and then boom. Without any warning at all, we find ourselves in circumstances that make doing the wrong thing look really, really attractive. It's basically a sudden structural stress test on that internal architecture we just talked about. And honestly, we have to clearly understand why that sudden appeal happens if we're ever going to have a real shot at safeguarding against it. Section 1. The root of imperfection. The source material actually anchors this entire discussion directly to a profound scriptural text from Romans chapter 5, verse 12. It says, "Death spread to all men because they had all sinned." Now, this isn't just some historical fact. It's literally the fundamental diagnosis of our human condition. It explains the inherited problem of sin. You see, we're not starting our build with a perfect, flawless internal architecture. Because of this inheritance, the foundational building materials we're working with are, well, inherently flawed from the start. That is the root cause. It's exactly why this daily struggle exists in the first place. Acknowledging this reality, that's the absolutely vital first step if we want to build genuine moral fortitude. And that brings us to a crucial point captured in Romans chapter 7, verses 21 through 23. The text states very clearly, we are imperfect and vulnerable to temptation. I want you to really notice those two words, imperfect and vulnerable. The source highlights this fascinating internal tug of war that we all experience. On the one hand, the text notes that we might be absolutely 100% determined to let nothing turn us away from Jehovah. We've got that firm, resolute goal locked into our minds. But on the other hand, the reality of our imperfection is still right there. And this completely validates that internal struggle. It tells us that despite our absolute best intentions and our firmest determination, the vulnerability to temptation is a constant, underlying reality. It is a very real, very authentic battle that every single one of us faces. Section 2. Our unique internal vulnerabilities. This next part brilliantly illustrates just how varied these challenges can truly be. The source material explicitly lists several physical vulnerabilities. It notes that one person might be fighting a really heavy temptation to commit a serious sin, like sexual immorality. Meanwhile, another person's internal architecture might be getting tested by a strong inclination toward unclean practices, specifically listing things like masturbation or viewing pornography. What is so absolutely crucial to take away from this is that everyone has completely unique areas of vulnerability. One person's biggest structural weakness might not even faze someone else. By clearly and neutrally identifying these specific physical vulnerabilities, we can actually start to map out exactly where our own individual defenses need the most reinforcement. But here's the thing. The vulnerabilities aren't solely physical, right? When it comes to mental and social temptations, the source points out that some people might fall prey to worldly thinking. So how exactly does that manifest? Well, the text gives us some incredibly clear, relatable examples. It mentions struggling with the fear of man, falling into independent thinking, or dealing with a quick temper. These are serious internal mental and social traps. Think about it for a second. You might have your physical defenses perfectly fortified, but if your mental architecture is susceptible to the fear of man, or you've got a really quick temper, the whole structure is still at massive risk. It just goes to show how worldly thinking can seep into our minds in highly varied and sometimes incredibly unexpected ways. Okay, so this brings the absolute core conflict of our explainer into incredibly sharp focus. On one side, we have appealing circumstances, those sudden, totally unexpected situations we talked about earlier that make the wrong course look incredibly attractive. And pitted directly against that is loyalty to Jehovah. The source text emphasizes that our ultimate goal is to remain loyal to Jehovah and his son. But man, when those appealing circumstances hit without warning, they create a massive amount of tension against that loyalty. Visually contrasting these two concepts really helps us see the daily battle clearly. It's this ongoing, real-time choice between the sudden gravitational pull of an appealing temptation and our foundational determination to maintain our loyalty. Section 3. Remaining on guard. So what's the solution? The source text provides a crystal-clear, actionable directive. Follow Jesus' counsel. Keep on guard against the temptation to sin. This right here is our absolute best defense mechanism. It's not just about reacting defensively when the appealing circumstances arise, it is all about proactive spiritual vigilance. Keeping on guard means constantly, actively inspecting our moral architecture. It means knowing whether your specific area of vulnerability is a quick temper, worldly thinking, or unclean conduct, and actively posting a guard at that specific door. Following Jesus' counsel gives us the practical, deeply empowering tool we need to safeguard against these internal vulnerabilities and maintain our loyalty to Jehovah, even when our imperfect nature tries its absolute hardest to pull us in the exact opposite direction. I want to leave you with this final provocative question to think about. What will you do today to reinforce your moral fortitude? Take a moment, seriously, to think about your own unique vulnerabilities and how you can apply this proactive vigilance in your own life. For more information, please visit jw.org. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and press bell icon to get the notification for new video. Thanks.